The viaduct's done. What's next? Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Good morning and welcome back to Piccadilly. Now the viaduct, as you see it, is complete. Obviously there's nothing attached to it and obviously everything else around it needs to be done, but the viaduct is complete. Let me explain. Well, you might be able to notice I've made some compromises. I've put, when you saw it last time, you had these pieces in and now there are only two. There were these extra pieces at the end, but these are end pieces and they're sort of flattened off, whereas these are sort of triangular both sides, if you know what I mean, slope both sides. Now when I put them all in, and so you got the four of these, and I put these pieces in, it just looks so crowded that nobody would ever really do that in real life. The gaps in they were like that across the whole bridge, and it just looked quite ridiculous. So what I've decided to do is to compromise and take out two of these and take out two of these. So I've still got a section where I've got two support pillars, and there are two sections like that on the real bridge, one going over a river and one going through Dinting Vale. So I've got rid of one of those sections, and then the other two parts I've just got one in the middle. So obviously the real viaduct is probably twice, three times the length of this in scale. But obviously I've only got so much space, and it's always going to be a representation, as I said at the beginning, as is the whole layout. I'm sure you understand that. And so anyway, let's have a look at the actual things I've done to this. Well, the most obvious thing that you'll notice is that they're all covered in brick paper now, these two pieces. And I don't know, these pieces, I don't know whether it's made from concrete or what, but there doesn't, all the photographs I can see, I can't see a brick pattern on this top section here. So I've just put in brown streaks with black. That's pretty much what I see. So that's pretty much what I've done. I see a lot of salting going on a few of them, so I've put that on. But that's pretty much it. And obviously railings. And these, you'll notice there is a white box. Now, I don't quite know what that white box is, but there's one of the ones I'm not using. So that's what I've done. And these two outer prongs slot between the two rails up deep inside there, if you know what I'm saying. And then you've got these two boxes. Whether they're control boxes, I don't know. They don't seem tall enough for people access, but on the other hand, it could be. But, you know, anyway, it's a representation, and that's the way I've done it from that. Okay, let's take you a look. You'll also notice I've got these pieces in now on all the parts, and railings. It's hard to, you know, you can just about make them out there. If I put my hand there, you can see one of the railings. Now, there's two there, by the way, on both sides. Now, I was going to use fishing wire for this, trying again to come up with a better way than the cotton, because I found it a bit floppy and it wouldn't stick. I was sitting there for a good 10-15 minutes. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? 10-15 minutes trying to get this to stick to the small plastic posts, which are 3D printers, as you know. Wouldn't stick at all. So I ended up going back to the faithful method of cotton, which is a very similar method to what I used when I did the spinning around this fence there. And pointing to that, by the way. And there are two strings of cotton running along the whole lot, and then obviously the mesh fence over the top. So that's a very similar sort of method used for that, stretched across the whole length. And then you'll also notice there's these plates gone in down the left hand side, the right hand side, and down through the middle, which is pretty much what I see. I've mottled it in different colours just to give it a little bit more interest to look at. It's hard to say really, but it wouldn't be well, it is different colours to be fair, but whether it's as bright and vibrant as that is another matter. But that's the way I've done it. So that's the way it's going to be. Anyway, the next stage is to take this part here now and to cut this to the right length. So work out where this finishes. So let's draw a line here, and using the tri-square, I haven't got it to hand, but the tri-square, and then that I can put marks on this and then cut this appropriately. And then obviously these tracks are flexible because there's quite a lot of track there. That'll need to move up ready for the point to go back in, and then cut these tracks accordingly, get those rearranged and put back in. So that's my next job. Okay, catch you. What a scene of devastation. But I just thought I'd bring you up to date. The bridge is now in, and when I mean in, I mean glued, and the track is glued, and also that section over there has been refitted. I had to adjust that bit there. It seemed to be going up a bit in a heap or a hump, so I've had to remove the cork underneath the track, and I've put really heavy weights on it, and in the hope that it will glue it down. I'm in the habit of not using felt cork anymore, unless I have to for height's sake, but I don't think it makes an awful lot of difference, to be honest. That's my opinion. But there we go. So I need to leave that for an hour or so to harden off, and then I can come back and get on with the this bit. Catch you later. It's getting a bit late now, but I've just been working on this down here, the arches, and I've decided to put arches in all the way up to that point there. I haven't done this section yet, and I'll leave it until I do the bridge, which is this bit. So I'm not going to worry about that one arch. But as I said before, the viaduct is now in. You can see over the drill, and all the tracks are glued down, and it's all connected up. I haven't checked for electrical conductivity yet, but I've rolled that Mark III coach down there, and it seems to roll quite nicely. Got rid of the hump, excuse my finger, just there. So that seems to be a lot better. So my next stage now is to continue with this arch work. I've got to weather this bit up and glue it in place. I've left it overnight like that, sort of under tension, in the hope that when the glue completely sets, which is PVA in most of it, or glue stick, PVA glue stick, Pritt stick type stuff, I'm hoping that once it's gone off completely, that it will hold that shape better. So I've left it under tension. Now, please don't look at the fit on this. In other words, the gluing. The gluing, I had to use a hot glue gun, so it does look a bit of a mess in places, but I will sort that out. But I didn't show this being made, but I'll explain it. So this here is 2 pieces of 2mm grey board glued together, and then we've got another piece at the top added on to give the illusion of that it's coming forward. These are 10mm squares, which have then been stuck on after that, and then we've got some 2mm square rod which goes in and then into the side there, and in there. On the other side it goes all the way around, you'll see that later. And this is just a piece of 1mm card with brick paper stuck to it. This piece, because if you notice, these stones are pointed. They're not like traditional copings, or I can't remember what they're called. but I 3D printed that and stuck it. Right, this bit was always going to be the problem. Now, I was thinking about having some kind of bridge coming across here, but anything built is done for a reason. The reason that it's like that. And I couldn't think of a reason why they would have a skew bridge there or a skew going across the tracks. It would be square to the tracks. It wouldn't make sense unless there was a road going across it or something like that. So my first idea, and this was what I was alluding to in the last video, is to have a road coming out here and then going back down there. But since then, I think I've had a better idea, and you might have already spotted it. But this platform sticks out. Now, if it didn't stick out, I don't think it'd be a problem. So let's take that off, because a lot of platforms now are butt end. Now, from Piccadilly's sake, you won't notice, because I only did it like this to give the impression that the platform went on quite a lot further. And I think from the other side it works. I'll show you. So if all of that entrance or exit, if you like, is hidden by the footbridge, the platform canopies, and you can barely notice that there's any form of opening there at all. Now, granted, there are lights on, and I have turned off the big light above because that really was highlighting the fact there was something there. But you certainly can't see the end of the platform. So I think we'll be absolutely fine by cutting the ramps off. So back to my idea then. Something kind of like that. And you might be able to notice there'll be another arch in there, but a blank arch like I've done there, and it would be that style, so the whole thing just sort of ties up together, and that will link the viaduct with whatever's built there. And then effectively I can have my road coming out here and joining up as if the road goes off into the distance and south off into the sunset. But I think that might just work. So there we are. That's the walling as I showed you in its raw state, unpainted. And that goes all the way up almost to that corner. As I said before, there needs to be one more arch section to go in here. And obviously then it's the bridge which will go, and which will follow very similar lines to this. There's no point in changing that. So you've seen that. You've seen that. You've seen that. What you haven't seen is that and that. Very difficult to show you. But also, you'll see the extra piece of viaduct that I was talking about in an earlier clip. Now that is fully constructed. It is not varnished yet, and it is not weathered yet. But also it does need this extra piece of walling in the tunnel openings so that Piccadilly is completely hidden. And then what I've decided to do is to paint the back of the unit black so that it's totally blacked out when you look at it from Piccadilly side. Anyway, obviously we're back in September now, and school is looming. Just in case you didn't know, I am actually a supply teacher, which basically means technically I could end up going different schools on a day-by-day basis. I prefer to be based in one school if I can, but depending on the role I have will depend on how much work I've got to do. I don't want to go back to what I was doing from January through to July because I just had no time. And as you knew, the channel seriously suffered for that. And I don't want to go back to that if I can help it. I might have to if situations prove otherwise, but we'll see what happens. But just be aware there'll probably be a drop in the videos at some point, maybe. I'll try and keep it at least once a week if I can, but if I don't do one week or another week, then, you know, don't worry about it, and we'll get back to get back to schedule at some point. All right. Anyway, I will leave the video there. Hope you've enjoyed it. And I will see you again very, very soon here on Piccadilly. One final look at the viaduct there. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.